And here we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. We are energized this morning. Welcome to our executive leadership webinar. Today's webinar, we explore how to get maximum value out of your partnerships. Bet you can't wait. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, so let's take a quick overview of what we will cover. The format will include a roundtable discussion with two industry leaders. We will speak to who they are and their expertise in just a moment. But first, let's frame the orientation of this webinar. Ooh, man, if you've been listening to the headlines, we've seen a lot of changes happening this year already. There's plenty of news headlines that keep the business owners feeling quite unsettled. But we propose that despite that, there's tremendous opportunity. If you're ready to accelerate your business growth for 2023, it may be time to look closely at your strategic partnerships. Taking time to cultivate and grow relationships you already have with your funding and technology partners could be the key to driving some unbelievable, great, and new opportunities for your business. According to Gallup research, partnerships are key to creating great value for both customers and suppliers. My name, howdy, is Tanya Jacobson. I will be today's moderator. I'm the VP of Growth for UZIO. UZIO, specializing in serving the staffing industry, is a provider of an all-in-one payroll, benefits, and HRS software. And hopefully I'm not talking too fast. Yes, I am in New York. Sanjay, hey Sanjay, the CEO of UZIO, brings a tremendous wealth of experience in the HRS and technology industry. An executive known to drive strategic growth, he has founded multiple companies, including Hcentive, which later was acquired by United Health Group. Hcentive was instrumental in saving Obamacare. It was a while ago now. Sanjay brings a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the changing needs in payroll, benefits, and HRS. Welcome, Ed. Ed Burr serves as the Director of Client Growth and Strategy for Encore Funding. Ed is passionate about making connections and helping clients achieve their growth potential. He, serving as a trusted advisor, develops strong solutions. He works closely with his clients to understand their pain points and objectives. Ed is an expert growth strategist with 20 plus years of experience. He's held positions in all areas of staffing, from branch operations and on-site development to HR and corporate operations. Most recently, Ed was the Senior Vice President of Operations for North America on-site. All right, we're just about ready to get to the questions. These questions are brought up in a roundtable type fashion. Sanjay, Ed, please feel free to jump in on and share your perspectives on these questions as applicable. For the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Please do note, we may not get to answering all of them. We may answer some of them in the later part of the webinar, and we will actually track the questions that you put in there. So we will provide a follow-up email that will also include your questions and answers thus discussed. So the first question, are you ready, Ed? It's for you.
So when we talk about strategic approaches to finding the right funding partner, I think the most important thing is to look for a company that will not only grow with you, but also help you grow, right? You know, there's a difference in those two things. You know, someone that is open to new ideas, somebody that has new ideas, and they don't have to have all the answers, but you need a company that is also willing to work with you to get those answers. You know, if you have an idea or a question, they may not have the perfect solution or answer right away, but at least they'll help you get it, and you can achieve the knowledge that you need together. That you need a true partnership.
Thanks, Ed. Sanjay, this question is for you. Ed, as always, please feel free to weigh in as you like.
So, I will just broaden it a little bit, not just criteria, but how do you go about finding the right partner? And, if you think about it, if you are, mid-sized to large staffing company, when will you start looking for a technology partner? If you're too small, you may have different needs, but normally you do that when you are facing challenges with your current partner. Invariably, that is, you are running agency, you have technology vendors you are working with, you have technology partners who are part of your operations, but suddenly something goes wrong. It could be, compliance related. We have seen payroll related audits, compliance issues. Whenever these challenges arise, companies start looking for a different partner. So the approach would be not just jump at the first partner somebody recommends or you heard about, but actually take the time, step back and look at what areas, issue may be in one area that caused you to look for a different partner, but step back and look at, do a review of all your key operations and see in all areas, what challenges are you facing? I would go to the extent of suggesting that you work with your leaders of all key areas, come up with a high level needs or requirements kind of summary that in each of these areas, these are the challenges we are facing. Use that to, when you start to evaluate different partners, use that as a guide. So you will start not be just because you got a IRS notice or you had a workers' comp audit issue, but you have now, it's an opportunity for you to look holistically at your operations, find out, document all the key areas which this new partner should be able to take the game to the next level. Then start the search, do the market research. There are so many places on the web today where you can, without need for any outside consultant, you can go and read up and do your own analysis and shortlist top 2-3 vendors. There are sites like aggregators, G2, Capterra, Software Advice. I will go there, read up on top 3, 4, 5 vendors in your agents, in your industry, and say, okay, these are the vendors, these are my requirements, how do they rank up? I will use all that to create a short list of 3 to 4 vendors that you want to run through the process. And there I would, again, somebody in your organization should be running that, but the rest of the people should be participating when those vendors are presenting, when you're evaluating them, and then rank them based on what feedback those function heads give you. And then, finally shortlist 1 or 2 with which you want to, negotiate and take them to the next level. So, if you want to summarize it, use the issue that has caused you to look for a partner to holistically evaluate the reason or the need for a new strategic partner. Do your homework, shortlist the candidates, and then evaluate them on the criteria that you created, and then find the right partner for you.
In the staffing world, you do the same process for finding a vendor that you do in evaluating a candidate for a client.
Yeah.
It's the same type of process. The only other thing I might do is reach out to like businesses that are not direct competitors of mine.
Yeah.
And ask them for their input as well. What do they know? What do they use? Who do they talk to? staffing companies can tend to be too cloistered, confined, and they're not sometimes willing to ask within the business these kinds of questions that, if they're asking the right people, are not going to infringe on their competitiveness in their area.
And I could not agree more. Like you said, you may be in different geographies, you may be in different industries, serving different client set. They're not all competitive, and you run into them at conferences and in tech conferences or other forums. Use that. But I would again re-emphasize that while you can get the advice and recommendations, the evaluation should be based on your own needs, and you rank them on those needs. If for example, if customer service is important to you because the previous vendor, you were not being responsive, you were facing issues, and if you rank it high enough, then the next time you evaluating, that has to be the weightage of that in your evaluation criteria has to be the highest compared to, let's just say, meets functional requirements, or has a scalable operations, or is innovative in their approach, whatever. So you have to be driven by your needs, and the recommendations that you got from your partner or the your other firms. Those all should fall in that mix, and then they should bubble up to the top based on the criteria that you have created using the requirements that you have for your business.
Exactly.
And I'm seeing that because we are put through this kind of process by our prospects. When they are evaluating vendors, if they are smart, they run us through the same process. They will send us, even sometimes they will even send us a matrix that they have created. Okay, fill it in. I'm not talking about running a full RFP process, because that may be too cumbersome for a company, too much overhead. But you have to know the set of requirements and the criteria on which you will evaluate. Let the vendor fill it in. Let them do the homework for you on your behalf, and then you evaluate them using that criteria.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, this is great stuff. Thank you. So let's take a moment, do a quick poll, folks. You will see a poll pop up on your screen. Please take a moment or so to select your response. Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't tell you there was going to be homework. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Good. All right. What key partnerships have you established in the last 1 year that will help you grow your staffing business? I've partnered with, select all that apply. Watch out, guys. Ed, Sanjay, you're going to get to comment on it next. Making you work. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And I'm going to share the results. So, you folks want to comment?
Are
you able to see? You're able to see it, right? Let's just make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It shows me that, folks are interested in growing their business through obviously marketing and controlling their costs, but also being able to grow their businesses through funding. Being able to access funds from a funding company when you need it and quickly due to a new client is extremely important to the success of any type of staffing company. And so you get that both through marketing and through funding. You can grow your business both
And I
ways.
would just, maybe I will ask you, the recent, the challenges that the smaller and regional banks are facing. I would hazard a guess that more and more companies would be looking to funding partners like yours or others, considering the banking relationships, especially regional and smaller banks that many staffing companies may be using, are just in a strange place at this time with all the turmoil that is going through the banking industry.
Well, it does. It creates, for many reasons that we could get into on a whole other call, it creates so many, I don't want to say hurdles, but that's the only thing I can think of right now for a company to go through to help them grow. Now, I'm not saying that a funding company is going to just help you willy-nilly, right? They're not, they need to have faith, trust, confidence, all kinds of things in you as well as a bank does. However, most funding companies can react much quicker than a bank does. Right. And, for the same reason that you may be looking at a funding company for assistance, client companies may be looking to you as a staffing company for assistance. They are looking for somebody to help them with processing receivables, processing payroll, helping them with funding, because their banks are much more conservative now and take so much more time to fund a project than they used to.
Right. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, understood.
Super. Thank you, folks. And coming up. Let's do it. Still working on it. There we go. So Ed, Sanjay, can you take a moment to answer this next question?
Sure. Key promise of technology when you bring them into your operations is really enhancing your productivity of your people, increasing efficiency of your operations. Frankly, in a staffing agency, anybody who's not getting billed is kind of an overhead, right? Means if you want to be blunt about it, and technology, if done right, can help you reduce that overhead. Think of if you're running a 500 people billable company and you have 20-25 people on your back office just managing your operations. Think of the cost of that overhead. What can you do to reduce your administrative overhead? Think of all the repetitive things that you have to do, your team has to do day in, day out. Sometimes, and I've seen this in case of a number of our clients, where they are using automation, but it is piecemeal. So they have a good ATS system. They use, there are lots of vendors. There is a good payroll system. So they, again, a different vendor, but, lots of them. They are a different time clock and timesheet system. Fourth would be a different billing system. they use, the usual vendors. And a lot of people are just there to make sure the data flows between these systems. So recruiters are working on the ATS, and when they hire somebody, that data has to flow to their onboarding, modules. So all that is happening. All that data is then, timesheets are coming in emails, and sometimes on PDFs, and all that data is getting entered into your payroll systems. Invoicing is manual, in manual in the sense, they are using a system, but it's not connected to payroll. So timesheets and payroll data is again being cut and pasted into your billing operations, and all that is happening, even though there is automation. Think about it. They are paying for it. They are paying to 4, 5, 6 different vendors for ATS, for payroll, for onboarding, for time clock. And still, you think about it that, they have a big team just managing that. What is the cost of that? If you think of gross margin of your business, and that is maybe in the downstream, we'll talk about KPIs. What is your key KPI for your technology company will have to be, are they helping you reduce your increase your gross margin, reduce your overhead? And that really is the key. That is the summary of everything that a good technology partner should be able to help you with. And I'm not saying that the same vendor, one vendor, you will have one vendor that can do all, but you can work with vendors who will work with you to integrate their systems with other technology partners that you have. If you are using an ATS system, which is so unique to your business that is the only system you want to use, you don't want to replace it, it's great, no problem. But can you work with a payroll vendor that says, yes, if you want to use us, we will go ahead and integrate with your ATS and make sure that your team doesn't have to move that data manually from your ATS system to that. Same thing with billing. A lot of companies use standard payroll vendors who don't have any knowledge of staffing, but they are the national brands and people use them and all that. Great. But they don't understand staffing as much. They don't understand that billing is a inherent it's a key function tied to payroll. And they may or may not invest in integrating their payroll system with the billing system that you're using. But if you work with a vendor who understands staffing industry, who has a system that does payroll for in staffing industry, they will have incentive, and maybe they already have integration with the billing systems, because they understand that billing and payroll goes together for a staffing company. So there is, again, it goes back to the first question that Tanya asked about how do you choose the vendor? That is where it will all come down to. When you're making the choice, have you used these criteria to select, this is the vendor I want to work with? Because if you do, they can truly streamline your operations, reduce your overhead, and significantly help you increase your gross margin.
Well put, Sanjay. I often ask clients, if you had 3 extra people in your office, as an example, what could you accomplish? What would you accomplish? In other words, what are your priorities, and how would you get it done? And then I say, so let's look at your operation. You may have, as Sanjay said, a system to do X, a system to do Y, a system to do Z. When X, Y, and Z can be in an A system, right? And you can, it's not that you don't need these people. However, they can be much more productive, right? They can help you in other ways that you should be able to see as a manager, and be able to position them for better success, better job security for them, better longevity as an employee for them by simply streamlining when you have the opportunity to do so, because it doesn't have to be a bad thing for your workforce, right?
Yeah.
And so just kind of keep those sorts of things in mind and use your resources, use your business partners to help you with that, because they see many different scenarios that you might not see and may have some different ideas that you may not have. And do not be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
That's if I got one point across today, that would be it. Do not be too proud or too entrenched or think that you know it all to ask for help, because that will lead to your failure.
Well said. Well said.
Ed, here's a question to get your thoughts from the funding perspective.
Sure. So, there have been a lot of changes, and it looks like there's going to be even more coming along, right? The key here, I think, is partnerships. It's finding someone that can help you quickly access a new client, and in our case, get to funding quickly, as I alluded to before. You want to work with partners that are as concerned as you are about meeting the needs of your clients. You don't want to miss out on a great opportunity, and your partners should not want you to miss out on a great opportunity either. They should be there to help your business grow, and it's, if funding can help you grow, if operations can help you grow, if IT can help you grow, that's what you need partnerships with, right? So working with, some key things that you can expect from a funding partner is not only funds, but insight into industry trends, support when it comes to operations, and as we mentioned, when you're bringing on a new account, ask your funding partner for help in doing that. I've even gone to presentations and sat in the second row, kind of, if you will, when our clients have gone to work with new businesses and done presentations with them, to not only provide support that this company will be able to meet the needs, but also, help them with advice on how to implement, if they don't have experience with that in a particular area.
And I would just ask what I earlier mentioned. If staffing companies today are concerned about their relationship with their banks, regional or smaller banks, is anything there what a funding company can do? Can they step in, or can they, what support? I mean, considering that these are big changes happening, nobody had anticipated these changes. If 2 weeks back we were having this webinar, we'll not be talking about this.
We wouldn't be talking about it, right?
What would you suggest they should? What kind of help they can get from a funding company like?
Well, obviously, it's pre this banking issue, and even more post, is that we can help them grow and access new sources of revenue much quicker than a bank can, even pre this issue. And I suspect it's going to be even tighter post issue, right? A bank is going to look primarily, well, maybe not 100%, but they're going to look at the entity, but we're also going to look at the entity and the clients, right? Because at the end of the day, the clients are paying the bills.
Right.
So, you want somebody that understands your business. That's the other thing that banks sometimes don't get, is how funding companies, how staffing companies work. And the fact that they're providing weekly payrolls, but only collecting every 30, 45 days on average, right?
Right.
And that they are client driven, just like every other business is. The question or the point here is that a funding company, a staffing funding company, will understand that. They know how these businesses work and how the industry works and how you need funding next week for an additional 50 people that your client is going to bring on that you're going to have to pay in 2 weeks. So, might it cost a little bit more? Yes. But it's a cost of doing business that has big dividends if you work with a proper funding partner. And I say partner in the true sense of the word.
Right.
So we've been looking at how we can be ahead of trends to create opportunities, especially as we started this new year. Ed, Sanjay, want to make some comments to this?
Sure. Let me take this. So, you are seeing this technology is really changing at a breakneck speed here. The innovation coming out of tech companies, and we as I think I said earlier that before the webinar we were talking about the whole AI, Chat GPT and GPT-4, and this, think about it, this started, I think I first heard about this in November of last year. And I think, in the last 4-5 months, this has become the thing that everybody is talking about. To that extent that people are worried about whether it will, and we don't have to get into all that will it impact, jobs and all that in the staffing industry. So technology innovation, and we talked about in the previous question about the need for automation, need for removing the administrative burden. I mean, you will now see vendors introducing AI in their product that can literally reduce the need for a person on the other end. I mean, I've seen products where the chatbots are driven by AI, that they can have a conversation with the person as if some knowledgeable expert is sitting on the other end. And this is not, some in future virtual reality kind of thing. This is there today. Microsoft, Google, and these companies, they are incorporating in their core suite of products, like Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Office. You will see ChatGPT and GPT-4 bundled into that product. So when you are, you give it a prompt, it can create the email for you. I mean, I've seen that the usage of this is just mind-boggling, and it may not happen in next few months, but if you look down the road, the need for repetitive things to be done by humans, in the staffing industries you work, it will just disappear. The need for somebody to be taking an invoice, cutting and pasting it into an Excel sheet, and then sending it to the customer, all that, which is very normal for people to do, and today you hire administrative people for that work, that all will just not be around. And vendors have very strong incentive. If you want to be competitive in the marketplace, and I'm not talking about legacy vendors. If you're working with some old legacy clunky payroll software company, that may not adopt all this. But new age companies which are coming in the marketplace, they will use these things to differentiate and bring more and more value to you. And you will see that in their product line. Ease of use, mobile first. I mean, a lot of staffing companies, you think of healthcare, nursing, travel nurses, you provide them. They are only using their phone for managing the whole operations. You cannot have a legacy vendor who is just not mobile first. The ease of use, the shifts, think of everything that a traveling nurse will do, that will be on her phone. And if you are not providing that, then you're not going to be a player around in those when those vendor needs are being put in front of you. So I would say ease of use, mobile first, artificial intelligence, the things that we are now reading about it in the papers and news, hearing about it, they all will become part of your day-to-day as the vendors roll out these products. And that should be very exciting, actually, for staffing companies and people who work there.
I would tend to agree. That AI, man. We've been talking about that. Yes. Yep. So, folks, we hope that you're enjoying the information and this format. We're going to go to another quick poll. And let me see. There we go. And just from a time check perspective, we're moving along. We have 3 more fact points that we're going to be talking about, 1 more poll, and then we'll do the wrap up. So we await your participation. Okay. I shall end the poll, and then folks, if you want to make some comments to this, you're able to see the results.
Yeah, I would have expected the people saying move from smaller banks to larger bank, but I don't see that.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that people haven't made any changes yet. And I say yet. I think that we just have to assess, but not become too entrenched. I think we have to be aware of what's going on in the financial industry. I think we, as I said, need to be thinking about it and have at least some ideas and be prepared for any types of changes that may occur because of this. And even after it dies down, evaluate where you are and kind of take this as a little bit of an ear tickler, if you will, that says, maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention to this going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in today's business environment, measurement and ROI are key. Ed and Sanjay, what are your thoughts on KPIs? We'll start first with you, Ed.
Well, over the past couple questions that we've had, you know, some, and this is not necessarily a KPI, but I argue that you could definitely put this into a KPI mix. And I would say responsiveness. You know, you need, when you have a funding partner, because let's face it, you're going to wither on the vine if you're not growing, if you're not enhancing your position. And 80% of that comes from new business. And not only getting new business, but keeping old business. So responsiveness from your funding partner is going to be key to that. It's also going to affect your ability to grow. Somebody that sees, a funding partner that sees that you're growing, that you're putting your business emphasis in the right place, that you're spending time with existing clients as well as developing new ones. And by spending time, I mean helping the existing clients grow. Those are going to be key. And then that all kind of leads down to the retention portion. Being able not only to improve your in-house retention, but for every point that you can increase your existing contingent workforce retention, you are going to lower your operating costs. And it adds up, believe me, because those pennies become dollars, and it has a snowball effect, especially as you're growing. So, retention is almost as important as responsiveness. So measure your turnover, measure your, as I said, your retention, and measure your responsiveness to how quickly you and your partners are able to respond to your clients and your internal needs.
And what Ed said is those KPIs are not too different from what you will use to evaluate your tech partner as well. I mean, think like retention, how fast you can fill open positions. If your vendor promised you that they can, ATS vendor promised you that they can help you become more efficient, it should be reflected in the KPIs tied to how fast you're filling positions, the retention of employees, attrition, and all that. But ultimately, what I said in the beginning about technology is really helping you become more efficient. So the key measure for that is gross margin. If when you made the shift, you chose a new partner, and hopefully you are measuring and keeping close track on your gross margin. And if the vendor promised you that the same work can be done with be more efficient and lesser number of people, that should reflect in your gross margin going up. So I would say the key measure, ultimately, everything will boil down to that, right? If you can be more efficient with your administrative work, things are more streamlined, you will really need less in-house staff to manage a larger business. That should be reflected in your reduced overhead and measure of and increasing gross margin. So gross margin would be key, but things like which Ed said about retention of your team members, and how fast you're filling them. And last thing I will add is compliance. So things that normally you don't maybe pay as much attention to, but again, the reason you may have chosen decided to shift your technology partner was some of the compliance metrics that were not looking so good to you before with the previous vendor that you had. It could be, number of notices you are getting from IRS, worker comps audit flags being raised, employment compliance matrix in the state that you are in, any of these. And hopefully with the new, and hopefully you use these to evaluate the vendor that you chose and selected the vendor on these criteria. And now you should be able to measure these and see whether these metrics are pointing in the right direction.
So in the interest of time, because we like to finish a little early, people get excited when they get a few moments extra. I'm going to go ahead and skip over the poll. We'll send that as a follow-up. But looking at our final question, and then we're going to go to a quick, like 1-minute key wrap-up for both of you folks. But do you folks want to go ahead and comment to this?
Well, I think, some of the biggest opportunities are for staffing companies to develop partnerships. As I talked about at the very beginning of this, work with other staffing companies, and even with your clients, keep the word partnership in the back of your mind. You want not only to have clients, you want to have business partners, right? You want to work with them and become and work with clients that understand your expertise and will use you just as you will use a funding company to help you be a better staffing company. You can help a logistics company be better at what they do, right? Because it all boils down to people. Work in tandem with your clients.
Yeah, and I will just add to that what we started this webinar with, that opportunities, key, and I've dwelled on this in the earlier question, that if you can really embrace technology as your differentiator. One is to use that to think, which I said earlier, to take care of your administrative task and automate that. That is all well and good. But truly, can this be your differentiator? You are in a very competitive business. Can technology be your differentiator? And things like, are you able to, for example, your prospect or customer asks for 20 more people. Are you able to fill those faster than your competition because you have a better system to support you? Means, again, not just automating, think from automation, but truly being a differentiator. Do you have more responsive customer support team when issues come up? Because you have all your back office is integrated, they can access customer information, they can be more responsive to the queries coming from the customer. So that I would put as an opportunity area. And the lastly, I would say, think of, if we all step back and think of the tailwinds that we are now seeing in the marketplace, can you take advantage of those? Think of broader economic, so think of what are you seeing? You're seeing post-COVID need for workers to be able to work remotely. You are seeing need for workers. They're asking for a lot of flexibility and the kind of work you assign them, the shifts they take and all that. You are seeing a push more and more towards, not from 9 to 5, but more from gig economy workforce. All these directly relate to, if you think, step back and think broadly from a staffing industry perspective, how you can leverage these versus your competition. If you embrace this, if you are hiring, for example, if you are, again, I'm giving you an example of healthcare because, and that's one industry which is, growing like weeds, and need for this is another tailwind that, with the aging population, there is a need for more and more staffing in the healthcare industry. But that point being aside, the need for that workforce, there needs to be much more flexible in the shifts they take, using technology to do accept and reject those shifts. That they will work for 2-3 vendors. They don't expect companies. They don't expect that that they will spend all their life working for one company. So these are just the trends, and you have to adapt to them. Versus the older model that we have, that you start working for IBM and you retire working for IBM. That's just not going to be the case. So as a staffing industry, I would just summarize, if you want to take that away, that first, opportunities are, of course, which are right in front of you. Leverage technology. Can it just not for automation, but also as a differentiator? And then second, look at the broader trends that the staffing industry is facing, and can you use them as a tailwind for your business?
From a time check perspective, we're down to the last 4 minutes. I do want to say this has been a great session. Ed, Sanjay, you have shared some fantastic insights on driving maximum opportunity when it comes to strategic partnerships. If you can, in like a minute or so for each, do you want to comment to your key takeaways?
I've said enough, so I will just not be repeat that, but I would, it's right there on the screen, which I just said, that use technology as a differentiator. And what Ed said before, I will add to that use your partner, not just technology partner, the partner, whether it is funding partner, technology partner. If you choose the right one, it will solve so much of your problems downstream. And what I just said in the last bullet point, that leverage the broader tailwinds that you are seeing to your advantage.
Thanks, Sanjay. Ed?
I just echo what Sanjay said. Work with somebody who understands your business, right? Work with a company that will help your business grow, and then also work to develop long-term relationships, which means getting to know your client, getting to know your employees, and knowing what their needs are and filling them is going to be key to your success.
Thanks so much for attending. We hope you got valuable takeaways. We will be sending out an email with a link to this replay, as well as a brief white paper that speaks to this topic in future depth. You will see our speakers' contact information here. You should also receive a survey, so we welcome any questions and future topics you would like us to cover. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you to our speakers.
Bye.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.